was, I got a lot of things. Forgot to tell you, Courtney, to turn on the recorder. Sorry. Anyway, I got a lot of things that I wanted to add to the wheelhouse, and I'm hoping that the things that I learned by my errors, a lot of it, will help you out in as a beginner gardener. So I'll go back to that screen. What I'm doing here is I'm hoping at the end of this class that you will learn these things. I've got a session. I'm hoping at the end of class you'll learn what kind of garden fits your lifestyle, because that does matter. Learn to assess your chosen garden area, learn the basics of hardscaping, learn the basics. Everything, it's a basic gardening class, a beginning gardening class, basics of irrigation, learn the basics of tree, bush, and plants. I'm even going to put some of my failures up, because you can learn from other people's failures, and I will have contact information in the program. You'll see this contact information card. You're not going to have time to write it all right now. At the end of the class, I will put this card back up again. So don't feel, like I missed you over and went too fast. So don't forget, look for this card at the end of the class. Okay, so I'm going to start you out with, it's almost like you think about your personality. To thine own self be true. Not everybody is super active like the first picture. Not everybody is, lazy like the second picture. And not everybody has a physical disability. So you have to think of yourself. Me personally, I start the year out like the first picture, and then I end the year out like the second picture. It's just easier for me to not have to fight my personality. And I am very active in the demo garden. Have my own home. I actually have another home that I help weed their bed, and another home after. I think I've got 2 or 3 other beds that I help weed. So I have to kind of pace myself, but I do kind of gangbusters right at the beginning when the weather is a lot better and energy levels better. Yeah, man, hit that 90, 100 degree weather, and I'm definitely right here. I will say that make sure you have a chair in the shade and lots of water. Care needs to be taken care of. Be very safe. Always have your cell phone with you for emergency reasons. In case you do get lightheaded, you need to call somebody to come help you. I want to talk a little bit about the handicap personality, and that could be someone in a wheelchair, someone on a walker, or just someone that is, elderly. Raised beds, yes, they cost a little bit more on the front, but they give you lots of gardening for a lot of years. And I would suggest maybe not the type of bed they have here. My suggestion is a bed that you can sit on the ledge, one that has a lip on it that you would actually be able to sit on and reach across a little easier. It also allows you to be able to sit and garden. And there's fewer weeds with a raised bed, so you wouldn't have to weed as often. Location is very important. Do you have shade? Do you have sun? Do you have park? What part of the yard are you putting it in? Things like that. And obviously, I'll be breaking that down into more, tangible parts of what we're going to be dealing with your location. Your soil condition matters a lot. You are going to be needing to do a soil sample. We at the Cleveland County Extension Office, you can get a bag and a little tool that'll help you get these soil samples. The sample here is a little shallow. You need to go deeper than that, but the instruction will be given to you. It's very important that you don't just add things to your soil without first getting that test done. A lot of places get fertilizing done without having soil samples, and we are finding phosphorus and potassium are just overloaded in our soils and probably overloaded in your flower beds. So get your soil sample before you do any additives. Nitrogen tends to wash out a little bit easier, but washing off these potassiums and phosphoruses into our waterways has caused problems. So please do a soil sample before you do any changes. And if you need to do additives, the soil sample will let you know. When you find out what kind of soil you have, now some of it you're going to know right when you dig, but when you find out what type of soil you have, that'll give you an idea of what you need to do to your soil. I'm going to say right here, I mean, it looks like they have a lot of clay. The clay soil is probably one of the worst soils you have to work with. And if you have clay soil, I'm really sorry, but it really is hard. You found out yourself when you worked in your yard. It's hard to dig in. It's hard to weed. It takes longer. If you are able to augment your clay soil with a garden ready soil, which is a mixture of soil, peat, sand, additives, mulch, it will help you to be able to have a future of an easier garden to deal with, and that you would have to rototill that in. What if you already have a bed though, your existing bed? You can work in some augmentation to your clay soil, but you have to be very careful to work it in around the roots carefully. You don't want to disturb your roots too badly. And I'll talk a little bit more about other things to deal with clay in a little bit. Sandy soil, it's probably the easiest to work with for weeding and caring and digging and stuff. But it's a little bit harder to grow things. You have to be a little bit more careful, actually a lot more careful with the type of plants. It's a very good soil for succulents. It's a very good soil for xeriscape. You just have to make sure you stick with those type of plants if that's what you're wanting to do. That is the kind of soil I have. It's actually what led me to the Master Gardener program, because I have never lived on sandy soil. And so I chose, rather than augmenting my soil, and I do put some mulch on top, but I don't dig down in and just do everything. I chose xeriscape, and I'm very glad I did. It's a style I like a lot because I'm a lazy waterer. I tend to water in my plants the first year and then get lazy after that. And I have no irrigation on purpose because I want to stay with the xeriscape. Mixed soil is a little bit of everything, and it's actually best for growing things. It makes it easier to grow things. And so you'll have a little bit more of a variety of type of plants that you can use for that soil. Then the next thing you have to do is decide your location: sun, filtered sun, shade, part sun, part shade. And don't just look at one part of the day. Look at throughout your day. Before you plant, look at your sun, how your sun comes throughout the day. Go in the morning, noon, afternoon, late evening. You'll see the top picture, full shade. But is it full shade all day? I mean, check your days throughout the day. You'll see full sun on the lower left, but is it got a lot of shade? Like that corner back there probably has a lot of shade. Times, you'll need to know your times. Like they consider a full sun a day. A full sun is over 6 hours of sun. Part shade is going to be less than this. Part sunny, 3 to 6 hours of sun. And in Oklahoma, a full sun garden is it can be difficult because we get so hot in the late afternoons, especially in midsummer. So just know your plants, know your areas. Right side of just kind of a little picture icon of showing you, full sun. Know your shade, know your sun, and your plants. You can research. So you've decided, you found out what kind of sunny areas you have. That's easier. It makes it easier to research what type of plants you want. You can go to fact sheets at our website, and we have fact sheets that will help you do research on what type of plants to do in that area. Watering, like I said, I do xeriscape, and the xeriscape is a low water, also low water juiceous plants. It's a low water area. It doesn't require a lot of water. In fact, watering, you can harm the plant more than help it because it's not meant to be watered. I water it in when I first plant them and give it a little bit of water as it's growing the first year, and then I'm ignoring it after that. I'm cleaning up around it. I'm not over watering it. It's just it's very hardy plant. I put the picture on the right hand side. I'm wanting to show you something. You're seeing a sprinkler system there. It's not a great way to water. It may surprise some people, I'm saying that, but I'm actually a very hardy water conservationist, and this is a way to waste water because the winds in Oklahoma just carry it everywhere. You know that because you've dealt with it. But what it also does is it can you're watering your leaves instead of your roots here, and what you're wanting to do, and it will increase your chances of diseases and mildews and stuff like that. What you want to do is you want to go to and irrigation. And I'm going to do a little bit more talking on irrigation in a little bit. The next thing I want you to think about is before you start planting, you've picked your spot, you've checked your shade. And if you want to put some hardscape in, put the hardscape in before you plant, because I guarantee you're going to pick a different plant. You may sit there and want to say, oh man, I wish I hadn't have done that whole area because I wanted a pergola there. And then look at the different style of plants you're going to have with a pergola, because you went from a sunny to part shade. And so that's a different style of plant. So always do pre-plan your hardscape. Plus it's, you know, the first year, it is the higher cost year. You're augmenting your soil, you're laying down hardscape, or you're building a hardscape, whether it be a trellis or a pergola. And then you're also doing things like, you know, raised beds. Maybe that's going to be your cost that first year to do your raised beds. And the raised beds will require physical labor. You may have to hire that out. Let's put the money at the prep at the beginning before you plant. The plant's the fun part. It's not so fun to plan and to build and to do that unless you're kind of weird like I am and I like doing this stuff. But it is necessary, and actually in the long run will save you some money. And I did mine with cinder blocks, and my husband's like, you know, give me one project a year, but don't give me 10. So I had to pick one. Each of these is one, every second, it's a different year. So that's 3 years of beds built, because it's a once a year project for him. And the left and the right bed both have garden ready soil. That is soil that I told you earlier. It's just soil and peat and sand and mulch all mixed together, which it makes it a really good growing soil. But the center one, I left that with the sand. I wanted to see how well I could do a xeriscape raised bed, and that never gets water other than rain, natural rain. And it seems to be thriving. It's totally full, and it's not full of cactus, and not a big fan of cactus anyway. So that's xeriscape doesn't mean it's all cactus and rock. Another things for hardscape, and my favorite thing for hardscape, are rocks. I love the natural look to it. I love that it gives a variety of a look. It gives the soft edge with the plants. It gives the hard edge with the rocks. Pathways, obviously, you know, going through, if you got a big bed, you're going to want pathways. Always easier to lay those pathways down before you plant things that you're going to have to pull up to get out of the way. On the right hand side, that bed used to be just rocks, and my husband and I have a pact that I do the beds, he does the yard, and neither the mix shall meet. I don't do beds in the middle of his yard, and he doesn't mow through my beds. It works well. In this new house, when we bought this house, those rocks were in the middle of the yard, and there ain't no way I'm going to be moving that kind of heavy rocks. They were halfway down. And so the solution was a peninsula bed off of the other bed, and worked around the rocks in the center. I put some dirt in the center and put some sedum in there that is allowed to cascade off of the rocks, and made it look like a quasi waterfall. And so it gave it even more interest. So you don't see it right here. It hadn't grown enough right here, but it gives it a little bit more interest. Anyway, my favorite way. Now I'll go back a little bit and talk about the irrigation. Irrigation, on the left-hand side, you're seeing me set up an irrigation around plants that are already existing. On the right-hand side, it's easy to lay down the irrigation before you start planting, because then you don't have to kind of curve around things. So see on that left-hand side, there's little tubes going off the side. That is a way to feed plants, possibly in pots or out off of the main line, to get the water irrigation to that area. We actually have irrigation set up in our demo garden if you wish to come tour it. And I'll talk a little bit more about the demo garden in the future. Soon, and it will let you know a little bit more about. We have people that could talk to you about irrigation and maybe help you. We also have fact sheets on irrigation. Let me go with the next one. And so we're going to start planting now. Okay, we've done our hardscape. We've checked our soil. We've augmented our soil as according to what the sheet has said. We've hardscaped. We've laid down irrigation, and so now we're going to start turning to plants. The left-hand side, this is actually my personal yard. And so not everything has to have a flower bed. Sometimes landscaping, the prettiest thing you can have is just yard and trees. Do your research on your trees to the type of soil you have. And in fact, if you take your soil card or your paper that you get and talk to the nurseries, they can give you a little idea of the type of trees that would work best in your yard. I put the picture on the right of the Bradford pear, not a suggested tree. It was a photo op for my sister and I. We had never dealt with these trees before, but they are actually on a list in Oklahoma, and I don't think it's just Oklahoma, I think it's other areas too, of a not to plant tree. They have caused problems with the indigenous trees in our forestry. And I'm going to ask you, please do not plant these trees. Yes, they grow fast, so you get results quicker, but they think trees that grow fast die fast. This is a very brittle tree. It's not a good tree for Oklahoma with the type of winds we have here. They snap off all the time. They stink to high heaven when they're in bloom, and they just basically, the best thing I can tell you is they're not good for our forestries. And so please do not plant these trees. This picture is to show you the research for your tree. So you'll see smaller trees next to the house. You do not want to plant a large tree next to your house. There's several things a large tree will do. One, it can tear up your eaves of your house, your roof line, your gutters, limbs hanging over the house, winds. We're talking Oklahoma, remember, your high winds, ice storms, tornadoes. Snap those limbs off. They can fall on the roof of your house. Then you get destruction from a tree that could have been avoided if you hadn't planted a tree too large, too close to the house. The root systems will mess up your plumbing. Okay, so here there is looks like a Bradford pear and a Japanese maple. Those trees are naturally smaller. There are other trees that you could research or ask nurseries for if you want a different style of tree. And there are dwarfed size trees that are deliberately grown to be a tree that will not get any higher than your house. So do your research, ask your nurseries. Just do not plant large trees. They look small when you first plant them, but they will grow. Look at the growth pattern or read the growth pattern. I mean, you get a tree that it says full grown, it's going to be 20 feet tall. You don't want that as close as that Japanese maple is to your house. You're going to have to cut it down. So try move those trees out further into the yard away from your house. Plus it provides shade when it gets larger. It may look tiny when it's first planted, but it will provide shade later. Bushes. Got the same suggestion with bushes that I do with trees. They look so nice and pretty when they're tiny and you put them in this little area. And the next thing you know, 10 years down the road, you're having to pull that bush out because it's so overgrown. So do your research. What are the size and diameters of the bushes full grown? And put them accordingly in your landscape. If you don't like the way they look when they're small, fill in the areas with other bush plants or annuals that will, not be there when those bushes are full grown. There are ways to get around maybe a small look that you don't like and be patient. Things will grow, and you just have to plan accordingly ahead of time. Plan, and obviously a lot of different colors and styles. You see that on the left-hand side. You can go very formal on the right top, not my favorite, just to let you know, but a lot of people love formal. I'm more, I told you earlier, I like rocks and nature and natural look. And so that bottom right picture is more my style. And putting the bushes and everything around the rock system, make sure you give that bush room to grow. Don't put it so crowded into the rock that it's like pushing itself over its side. Pull it out a little bit, let it grow. And I think you'll be a lot happier with your bushes. Research. We have fact sheets on our website that you can pull up and do some research on your bushes. Perennial plants. Those are plants that will come back year after year. I did some pictures here of plants that are, okay, on the left-hand side are the lilies. You can hardly, they're a hard plant to kill. They're very hardy. You know, in southern Louisiana where I grew up, those little orange daylilies, we even actually got a nickname of calling them ditch lilies, because you thin them out and just throw them in the ditch and they bloom no matter where you threw them. So they're very hard to kill, and they are very showy. You can see the different colors and the blooms. Those were all are out of my yard. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see some other perennials that grow well. You'll see my lava rock's got a little bit of sedum growing out of it. That's where I put some dirt in the middle, and I just had a little bitty, tiny little thing of it, and it has just spilled over the side. And that's, I think it's a nice natural look to it. And but you'll see the columbine in the full shade. You see that full shade little corner there, and also a strong plant. But do your research. And we also have fact sheets on perennials. I mean, do your research on this type of plant that you're putting. Now, because I'm a demo gardener, I get plants from the demo garden that when people thin things out that I bring home and do as an experiment. Not always known that columbine would do well in sand, but apparently they like my sand, and they're doing well. And that's that right-hand side, bottom left corner is the columbine. And they do well. Obviously the sedum likes sand, so it's doing well. Just the fact sheet, I'm going to keep saying the fact sheet. Those are good resources on our website to look up plants in your nursery, your local nursery. That's a good one to go to the nursery, ask for the experts, not the big box store, not the Home Depot and the Lowe's, because they don't really have experts there. The experts at your nurseries can guide you to your shade plants or your part sun plants or your super hardy plants or your xeriscape style plants. They can guide you to those areas a little bit easier and help you with your plant selection. And remember, they're plants. If they die and they don't work, you can get another one, and it's okay to replace them. It may make you a little sad, but they're okay to replace them. More perennials. Okay, irises, another good hardy plant, hard to kill, and variety of colors. I don't have as many colors on this one because I'm just showing you the one bed that I had the purples in, and they spread out there. But variety. And look, I mean, I've got them in sand. That is sand. They will grow in anything, and that's sand that I don't hardly water, and they still bloom. Isn't that amazing? They're just such a hardy plant. On the left-hand side, you see my raised bed that I put plants in to show you that do your research, look up what style plant you like, come to our demo garden and tour, and I'll talk more about that again. All right, annuals. What I like about annuals is that they are a great plant as a filler. I would not, this is personal, I would not do a whole bed of annuals. They do give you flowers through the whole summer, but man, it can get expensive. I like to put annuals mixed in with your perennials and around your land hardscape and around your bushes and trees. You know, and I said it earlier, you know, you can use your annuals to fill in the gaps and the holes while things are growing, and it gives it a nice, pretty, showy color. And you did have all kind of enjoyment. I mean, you'll know what area to plant things, because maybe you have a little area that's all green and you need a little other color in there. Perfect place for annuals. You get some bright colors. And annuals, they're pretty inexpensive unless you have to buy flats and flats and flats of them. But it will give you opportunities to experiment, because you're not invested in something that's going to be there for you. It's a one season. Annual means it's a 1 year plant. So you use it, you like it, then get more of it. You use it and it doesn't do well in that area, don't get that one, replace it with something else in the future. So you'll find that you'll have favorites that you go back to and you back to and back to, and maybe you leave holes for the items that grow at special times of the year, you know, like chrysanthemums in the fall, and you always want that little color. Then you'll see that on the right hand side there. You want that little color in the fall, maybe stick a pumpkin in the middle of them and make it really cute. It makes it nice. So annuals have their place in the landscape by all means. But my favorite way is, you know, fillers and holiday landscaping. So the fall holiday landscaping, that's my favorite way to do annuals. Okay, so I've given you a lot of a wide range of information on a very basic level. So here I'm going to talk about some of the ways I failed, and that I'm hoping that those ways that I failed will give you some information to not do. Okay, so here I'm going to have you in your head. You can type it or you can put it in your head. It's up to you. I think mostly just do it in your head because I am going to give you the answer. So I didn't plant this bush, but I love this bush. This abelia, the bees loved it. The butterflies loved it. I could stick my hand in the middle of that bush and just shake it, and I'd have 20 butterflies flying off of it. They loved the nectar on it. And so why did I have to take it down? Why in the world would I want to take this big, beautiful bush down? Well, the people that had the house, I mean, it had great sun. It was the water source is right behind it. You can't see the water source. So obviously the problem, or maybe obvious to me, but the problem was placement. The place that it was put when it was small, and it probably looked perfectly right in the area when it was small. But what you can't see is right behind that bush is my air conditioner system that the air conditioner guys could not get to when they needed to repair anything because it was so almost like inside the air conditioner was just so close. And to the left of that bush that you can't see is a bay window. So that probably was perfectly fine when it's first planted because it was way below the edge of the bay window. But I've got, you know, several acres behind me to look at, and you can't see out of the bay window because the bush covered half the window. So the bush had to go, but I will replace it somewhere. I just haven't done it yet, but I will get one planted, but I will definitely plant it way away from the edge of the house and the air conditioner and any windows. Okay, here is my try on doing raised beds for my vegetables. You will see right here is my water source. See where my arrow is? My water source. It is in full sun. The trees are far enough away that I got full sun. I checked my times all day long. I watched and watched and watched, and I got over 6 hours of sun easily, probably got more like 10 hours of sun. So in your head, think, what could I have possibly done wrong here? What could be wrong with this? It was the garden ready soil put in there and the water source, full sun. Well, think about it. Full sun, metal. Those suckers got hot. I cooked my plants. I cooked them. And the hard part was taking all that dang soil out. And there are 3 tons of soil in all those things. I had to bring pickup loads of soil to fill those things up. So it took a lot of time to get that soil emptied out of there and to move those tubs. I moved them to a part shade area and they're doing fine. And instead of filling tubs up with soil again, because I wouldn't be able to move them if I needed to in the future, I decided to put pots in them that I filled the soil into the pots, very large pots, but they were all a lot easier to remove, not by myself. My husband would have to help me remove them, but they're a lot easier to remove than trying to dig the soil back out again. What a pain that was. Yeah, my husband says, that's your job. I'm not doing that one. All right. Now this one, beautiful plants, right? Very, very friendly in the xeriscape. This was also planted by the former homeowner. They were thriving. They were doing great. Didn't need a water source. There's xeriscape. They had full sun. They love full sun. So where's the fail here? You see my little tag there, communication is key. Do you remember when I said earlier, my husband and I had to make a pact that he touches the yard, but I touch the beds only? Well, this was one of the reasons we had to come to this pact. When we moved in, I told him, hey, don't worry, I'm going to remove that bed. That's where he stopped listening, because the second half of the sentence was after I transplant the plants. And I came home one day and the plants were gone and in the trash can, because all he heard was, I'm going to remove that bed. So communication is key. Very clear communication. Make sure he's looking at you to hear you. Very clear communication with your people that help you in your yard, or people that like to garden with you. Clear communication is key. I'll get more of those plants later. I have some of them are replaced already. This was another communication fail. What do you think went wrong here? So we have the right plants in the shade, but that's not what was there before. These were boxwoods that were there, totally shaded. They didn't do quite as well. So I did kind of think, yeah, I might need to change those out. But I got home from work one day and they were totally cleared out because my husband didn't like them. And this was the second example of why we came to the decision that I stay in the flower beds, he stays out. We were actually putting our house on the market to sell it in the next week. So I had to come up with something fast. I actually think it was a mistake that turned out well. I mean, it came out well because we have shade plants in there that needed to be shade plants there. And the pots were pots that I could pick up and take with me to the next house. But communication, again, communication is key. I will say that the people that originally planted in that area did pick up bushes that were not meant for full shade areas. So they didn't do as well. They didn't look as well. So we talked about this earlier. So think a little bit. Tell me what you think is wrong, or think it in your head what is wrong. You've had enough information now that you could tell me what is wrong with both of these houses. Probably has a good water source, probably has good soil, good sun, it looks like. But as you see, especially on the left, you can see the house, they planted the tree and it looks like it's far enough out, doesn't it? But it's not. See how those trees will spread out. You have to do your research on how wide the tree gets, how tall the tree gets. So right now, this tree is knocking into their eaves, probably hitting their gutters, especially every time that wind blows. If it ever uprooted, it would fall right onto the house. The right-hand side, that tree's not even finished growing yet, and it's already encroaching on the tree. Look how close the base of that trunk is. What do you think those roots are doing to their water supply, their sewage? They'd love sewage because lots of food there. So what do you think those roots are doing? I mean, this house is going to have problems with their plumbing in the future if they don't already have problems. Sometimes you have current landscape that you've moved into a house, just needs to be cleaned up. See, that left-hand side just has a lot of grass and junk. Okay, when you're mowing, don't mow with your mower shooting out grass towards your flower beds. Shoot it out the other way. This is what happened here. They grew a nice little crop of grass, throwing it into the flower bed. Sometimes it just needs to be cleaned up. So the right-hand side, same exact bed, didn't add anything, just cleaned it up. That's all we did, cleaned it up. I will say rocks like that are a little bit harder to clean up. They did a rock edging there. It's a little bit harder to clean those up because it takes longer. I'm going to say the center of the bed didn't take very long. The outer edge of the bed probably took me 5 times longer than the center to clean up, which can get a little irritating. But think about that when you are doing your landscaping, the style, what you want to do, that rocks like that are harder to weed through. This person, I will say, I wanted to make a little comment on this because eventually when this fills out, this is going to be so cool. This person does not really like flowering plants. They like a total green bed, evergreen, wanted green in the wintertime. It's actually, this is where she did her plan and, planned her work and worked her plan, where you have a garden that if you want a green garden year round, evergreens are the way to go. And it can be such a beautiful bed. Look it up sometime. Look up green gardens that stay green all year round and are only green. She didn't want any flowers in here at all. You can actually get some really, really pretty landscaping. I had never done it before, and I thought it was a really grand idea. Okay, here's a little bit of advertising for our demo garden. The Master Gardener started this demo garden in 2000, as you see, and it has grown. It started small and has added on. We now have a greenhouse in the back of the demo, at the very end of the demo garden, that we have some great teaching moments and plants being grown all winter long. I'll explain a little bit more what we do with these plants. But this demo garden, different beds have different styles. We have a whole bunch of different styles of beds to show you what you can do in your yard. And when we open the tours up starting in, I believe in April, from 9 to 12 o'clock every Saturday morning. And there are these people there that can walk you around and talk to you. And maybe you have questions of things that you want to grow, and they can answer those questions. They can give you ideas of the type of landscaping. And if you come and tour this garden, say once a month, you're going to find new things blooming. And so they will give you an idea. Say you see something, you just love it. You don't know what it is, you just love it. And they could, you look at the plant tag, or somebody can look it up in our little notebook and tell you what kind of plant that is. Write it on your list of, I think I'd like this. And then also it allows you to set up blooming throughout the growing season. So you'd have something new in your own personal yard growing throughout the whole season. Instead of having everything growing right then at that point, then you have something different growing throughout the whole season. And yeah, come tour us. We'd love for you to. We are located at the county fairgrounds, Cleveland County Extension Office area. And you can get to us off of Robinson or Porter, two different entrances. You'll see they have RV parking there. Your family coming out of town, they want an RV park. There's an RV park there. Anyway, come join us. We'd love to see you. We have next month is our next garden class. Is a square foot gardening class. And Linda, she has gotten herself certified as a square foot gardener. I am definitely going to this class. So she is a very knowledgeable lady. And this is also a good class for learning about vegetables, which I did not cover in this class because I knew she was coming up. And but so she's going to teach you how to build your square foot and creating Mel's mix and a composting. So this is a very good class to go to. Plan it, put it on your calendar, and it will be live. We will be in, I believe, Classroom C. Yes, Classroom C. And it won't be on Zoom, so you'll be able to come to a live class. Just bring your mask with you. Looking forward to seeing you. All right, if you are interested in ever becoming a master gardener, this is a little bit of information here. Courtney, you see her email on the left-hand corner. Write that email down, and you can email her, ask her about the classes. I believe sign up starts in March. Courtney will be able to tell you more in a little bit if I'm wrong on that. But the classes, let me tell you, there are a lot of classes. It goes from August to November. I believe they meet Fridays, and it is extensive. You get a lot of information, and I'm telling you, what a great group of people. I love this class so much, these group of people so much, and what a diverse group. We go anywhere from, people that are hardcore gardeners. Hardcore gardeners is somebody like me who's a little bit more laid back and easygoing about the gardening. I might not be laid back about everything. My people are laughing right now, probably saying you're not laid back. But anyway, I'm a little bit more laid back about being intensive in the gardening and learning all the names of things. I'm a little bit more laid back about that. But I love this group of people, and the amount of information I've learned has been astronomical. And I really encourage you to come take this class with us and join us. We want more and more and more and more and more. We have in April 16th, we have a spring. This, I told you about the greenhouse. Well, this is what we do with our greenhouse. We grow plants. We grow plants that we sell at our garden party and plant sale. April 16th, it's 9 to 1:30. And it is our fundraiser. This is how we raise funds to maintain our demo garden, to be able to do things in the demo garden, to grow our demo garden. And please join us. You'll love these plants. They have such a variety and are very hardy plants. You will enjoy them and get to know us. And you get to come see the demo garden at the same time. Of course, in April, things aren't quite filled out yet, but you'll be able to see what it looks like to grow things from early. How we're cleaning up the garden and how we're doing things. Okay, now I told you I'd bring this card back so you could write this information down. All the information, the contact phone numbers, the email, our website, that www.Cleveland County Master Gardeners. Make sure you put the S on there. Gardeners.org is how you access our website to be able to get things like our fact sheets, our it allows you to contact somebody, you know, say maybe you want to send an email out. Well, there's an email information, ccmastergardener@yahoo. Anyway, yeah, give us a holler if you have a question about our garden, you know, and anything like that. And now I'm going to open this next session up to question and answers. Courtney is going to read questions. She's going to be doing that part.
Anybody have any questions for Kathi? You're welcome to unmute or throw them in the chat. All right, good job, Kathi, from Kathi Bowden. Any other questions or comments?
I like the kudos. Go ahead.
Ruth is asking, what were the shade plants?
The shade plants were hostas. Are you talking about the ones that my husband pulled out the bushes, so I had to put something there to sell the house? Is that the one she's talking about? Those were hostas.
And then another one, xeriscape gardens, do they have to be in full sun?
Some, yes, some part of it, no. I obviously have some shade on the right-hand side of my house that has trees that shade that area. And it's really funny is I have a whole area that the grass would not grow under those shade trees. And no matter what we planted there wouldn't grow. And I had a friend that she was clearing out her, what you would probably know as monkey grass. And so Lairope, so I planted it there because it was free. And I said, if you survive, you survive. If you don't, you don't. I watered it in the first year and then left it alone after that. And it is green. It is growing. It is beautiful. So you can plant things in shade that maybe normally you wouldn't think of. I've got some sea oats over there growing in my shade. So, and those that side of the yard gets the least water because I just don't want to walk over there and water it. So yes, you can. And at the gardener, at the nursery, you can ask for shade xeriscape and they'll lead you there.
Okay, Ruth clarified a little bit. What were the plants that were blooming in the pot?
In the pot of the shade? Probably impatiens. I'd have to go back and look, but probably impatiens. Those are an annual. I put annuals in the pots because I knew I was going to bring those pots with me.
And then Carissa asked, do the tours of the demo garden cost anything?
They are free to the public, and we want you to come. Bring your kids. We actually have a worm hotel that the kids. I don't know if it's somebody said just boys or mostly boys that say, hey, I'm a girl and I love the worms. So, but the kids get to hold the worms and they get to get their fingers in there and see what it's like. And the herb bed is really great for the kids too, because they can see what it actually, you know, food products look like and smell like and stuff like that. But yeah, Saturdays, bring them, come all the time. The kids are welcome. And we're actually got a youth program going to be starting pretty soon. So be looking for that on our website.
Okay, a question from Abdul. Would you recommend to plant clover to enrich the soil? My garden has clay soil.
Ooh, clay soil is so hard. If there's no way that you can augment it with, you know, rototill in a garden ready style soil to augment that soil, use mulch, dig the mulch into the soil to loosen it up a little bit. And I'm glad you brought it up because the person that I dealt with that had clay soil, the clover, I'm not sure if it would give it nutrition, but it will give you, it's a fairly hardy plant that will allow a ground covering. But the person that had the clay soil that I dealt with, they were overwatering their clay soil. Something to think about when you put your plants in there. And somebody else suggested this to me, to have them water less, because what happened is they were watering so much that the clay was encapsulating the roots, and the roots were having a hard time breaking through the clay. Whereas if they let the soil dry out in between the waterings, it allowed it to crack just a little bit, that the roots were able to break through those cracks, get through the cracks, and the plants are doing better now from that. But actually try to break up the soil a little bit while it's dry. Hard to do, I know, but that will allow you to work in some of your mulch and compost into those areas around the plant. Just be very careful of the roots, get far enough out from the roots.
Okay, and then let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Amber Parker asked, oh, what is the best way to find trees that will do well in Oklahoma? We lost both of our trees in the front yard from breaking down during an ice storm, and see lots of trees around town that are lopsided from the same storm.
Yeah. And then you know what? It was such a rare storm that it's hard to predict a storm like that. What they call it, 100-year storm. Nurseries are really good resources for that. They can. That's why I said earlier to take your soil sample results with you, so they know exactly what kind of soil they're dealing with when they're suggesting it. If you want a larger tree, a lot of nurseries, or in fact, I would only go to a nursery that does this, that will, for a little bit more money, I know it costs more, but they will insure that tree, insurance for that tree to, if it doesn't survive, they bring you another one, and they do the digging, they plant it, they teach you on how to care for it. Nurseries are very good resources for that. You can go to our website and get our fact sheets on trees. Research. You have to do your research to look up what style of tree you want, what type of soil you have will determine. Be sure to stay away from the trees that are on the do not plant list.
And I'll add real quick, I threw in the chat a link to the Oklahoma Proven website, which is a list. They select an annual, perennial, shrub, and tree every year. That's pretty tough for Oklahoma. And so if you're looking for a list, that's also a good spot to check out. But of course, no tree is ice storm proof.
Yeah, no tree is ice storm proof.
Yeah, or tornado proof.
Well, and we'll say, yeah, and I will say, like for you guys with crepe myrtles that died, if you dug that thing out too soon, I will say that all of my crepe myrtles died down to the roots, but I left them alone just in case. And 4 of them came back pretty fast, but all from the roots. And then the 5th one, I thought, well, it's dead. I'll dig up the roots later. A month after everything else started growing up, it grew up, and now it's twice the size of one of the others. So you can't give up on some of them. Give them, if they're crepe myrtles, give them a little time.
Sharon Persley said, just moved to 2.5 acres. No idea where to start for fruit trees and vegetable garden.
Okay.
Any comments on that?
Yeah, well, okay. Fruit trees are not my area of expertise, but I will say I do have pecan and a walnut tree in my yard, not something I planted. And it's in sand. Who would think that those would survive in sand? Those are trees that will go pretty much in a lot of different soils. It's something to think about because they're a little bit easier to grow, less having to spray. You know, when you plant fruit trees, you have to look at these schedules. We do have fact sheets on fruit trees, very good fact sheets that will give you ideas on maintenance of what you need to do to maintain a fruit tree, because it's beyond just, you know, sticking it in the ground. And then for your garden, I'm thinking you were saying vegetable garden. You know, you got to do your research on where it's located. You want enough sun in there, but you also want, sometimes in Oklahoma, the sun can get so intense that maybe you want a little bit of filtered shade over the afternoon sun garden. So check your sites out as where you get some dappled shade or dappled sun, however which way you want to say it, over the evening harsh sun time period, and see if that doesn't give you like 6+ hours of sun, but some afternoon reprieve from that Oklahoma heat.
Okay, any other questions for Kathi? I'm not seeing any pop up. So thank you,
Did
Kathi.
you have any, Courtney? Do you have any questions, Courtney? Something maybe I missed?
No, I don't see any other questions. But thank you all for being. Oh, is someone unmuted? Is that?
Yeah. Hi.
Oh, okay. Yes, we've got a question.
I'm Anu here, Anu, ANU. How far from the house do you plant the trees?
Well, when you do your research, and this is you doing the research, when you do your research, look at what is the top height of the tree when it's full grown, the width
Okay.
of the tree when it's full grown. And
Okay.
be sure to go out, if it's a large tree, say, you know, a 20-foot tree, say it says it grows up to 20-foot tree, you want to move that way away from the house because those roots will be very intense. They
Oh,
the width of the tree, how wide your tree is, how wide your roots are going to be. You need to be way away from the house for that. If you're going to plant kind of close to the house, you want to
yeah.
pick trees that are either a dwarf variety or they're built to where they never grow very tall, like red buds, the Japanese maples, very good trees, and dwarf varieties of those I would suggest are those only things that I would put close to a house at all.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, another one that popped up. Heather Molesby asked, is there a next class?
Yes, next month there is the square foot gardening class. Courtney, do you? I don't have my page. Let me back up. I'm going to back up the page here to that class right there. March 19th, 10 to 11 o'clock, classroom C at the Cleveland County Extension Office. You know, the right off of East Robinson.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much, Kathy and Courtney.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope you
Thank you for
enjoyed it. I
being here.
hope you got a little information. It was a little bit about a lot.
It's really
But it's the
interesting.
basics. It's just, hopefully this class will give you enough information that you know where to go look things up.
And Carissa asked, do you have to register for this one, for this class like we did this one? You shouldn't. We're planning to have this one in person. And so it will be, you'll just be able to come to that one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Well, if you have any questions, I threw my email in the chat and I would be more than happy to direct those to Kathy and get you in contact with Kathy. Can I repost the sign-in sheet? Yes, I could repost the sign-in sheet. Let me do that. I'll repost the sign-in sheet. And but other than that, thank you guys so much for being here today and joining us for a little bit of education on a Saturday morning. I'm really looking forward to the next classes that we're going to have in March and the rest of the year. If you're interested in that and kind of getting staying in the loop on some of the stuff we're having, sign up for, put your email in the sign-in sheet and I'll add you to my newsletter list. And that's how you'll hear more about some of these upcoming events. But other than that, thank you, Kathy, and thanks all for being here this morning.
Thank you guys. Y'all made it easy for me. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.